Okay, this is part 2 of the fraction song video. On the first part we saw when the bottom was 11, when the bottom was 10, when the bottom was 9, and when the bottom was 8. Okay, and then now we're going to start with the bottom 7. If you have the bottom 7, the fraction song says you divide, the top goes in, the bottom goes out. So what all that really means is that you have your division. In order to change this fraction to a decimal, you have to divide. There is no shortcut, you have to go to the whole division. So you would actually have to put the top number inside the division bracket and the bottom number outside the division bracket. And then you would have to go ahead and divide. 7 cannot go into 1, so what I have to do is I have to add a decimal and a 0, and because 7 cannot go into 1, I'm going to put a 0 up there. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this decimal up to my quotient, which is the answer to my division. And now since that decimal is moved up, I can erase it because it's no longer there, and now I have 10 inside. Okay? And I can do that because I moved the decimal up there now. So can 7 go into 10? Yes, one time. So I'm going to put a 1 right here, and 7 times 1 is 7. So I'm going to do my division. 10 minus 7, I'm going to have to regroup, or I can just count 10 minus 7 is 3. Okay? So there's my 3. And if you wanted to regroup, you can always make that 1 a 0, because you borrow 1 from it, and then that 0 becomes really a 10. So 10 minus 7 is 3. Same operation. So now you have a remainder of 3. You have to add a 0. Bring it down. And then you have 30. So 7 goes into 30. What is it? 4 times? 4 times 7 is 28. And then if you regroup and you borrow correctly, this becomes a 10 and this 3 becomes a 2. So 10 minus 8 is 2 and 2 minus 2 is 0. So now you have 2 remainders. So you have to add another 0 and bring it down. But that's as far as I'm going to take you in this division. Because really this is not a shortcut, and these videos are to help you with the shortcuts of the fraction song. So I'm going to stop right there. Let's go to the bottom 6. Notice that I've written all 6 fractions with the denominator of 6. 1 6, 2 6, 3 4, 5, and 6 6. Okay, the fraction song only says 2 lines about when the bottom number is 6. For example, 1 6, if the bottom is a 6, you just have to memorize this one. Your answer is going to be 0.16 with the bar of the 6. It's kind of easy, right? You have a 1 and you have a 6. Well, that's the same thing as a decimal, right? And the bar right here is already on top of the 6. So that's kind of like a neat way to remember where the bar goes. Only on top of the 6. Okay, so that means 0.16 repeating. And the only number that's repeating in this case is just the 6. Because the bar is not on top of the 1. It's just on top of the 6. Okay? Now, 2 6, we're going to come back to that in a few minutes. 3 6, come back. 4 6 will come back. 5 6. This is the second line of the bottom of the fraction song when it says the bottom is 6. It says, and the other bottom 6. This is the other bottom 6 that you have to remember. You have to memorize. Is 0.83 bar on the 3. Only on the 3. Same case as this one. Okay, it's 0.83 bar on the 3. Only the 3 is repeating. So you have to memorize these 2 numbers that are in red. That's just the shortcut. If you memorize this one, it's kind of easy because you have the same numbers. And then you have to memorize this one, 0.83 bar on the 3. And then you're done. These other ones right here are really easy because 2 6, that really reduces down by dividing both top and bottom by 2. You can simplify this fraction. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. This one you can simplify by dividing both top and bottom by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So you get 1/2. This fraction is equivalent to 1/2. This fraction is equivalent to 1/3. Okay? 4 6, this can also be reduced by dividing both the numerator and the denominator by 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So you get the fraction of 2/3. And then here you have 6 over 6. Anything over itself is 1 whole. If you have a pizza and you have 6 slices in that pizza, and you have still all 6 slices left inside the box, then you still have a whole pizza. So 6 over 6 is just one whole. And you can write it as 1.0 if you want to. That'll give you a decimal. Okay, so we're going to look at this fraction 2/6 in the next video, part number 3 of the fraction sum, when we discuss the bottom 3 rule. Same thing for this one, bottom 3 rule, and then we'll get to the last line of the fraction sum where the bottom is a 2. Okay, so if you need to refresh on how to know how to do the bottom 7, remember you're dividing, rewind to the beginning of this video and I'll walk you through this again. Okay, this is the one you have to remember, the red ones. And then the blue ones we're about to see in part 3. Okay, this is part 3 of the fraction sum. Part 1 discussed the higher numbers, part 2 was the middle numbers, and now we're discussing the bottom numbers. The fraction sum, the third paragraph, talks about when the bottom is a 5, when the bottom is a 4, when the bottom is a 3, and finally when the bottom is a 2. So we're going to start with when the bottom is a 5. We have all heard that cheerleading cheer that says 2, 4, 6, 8, who do we appreciate? Right? I know I have. But if you haven't heard that before, now is a good time to memorize it. Because 2, 4, 6, 8, who do we appreciate, will help us change all of these fractions on the top, when the bottom is a 5, to their corresponding equivalent decimal form. Okay, so let's see which number goes with the 1/5. Well, remember the cheer I just said? 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? Well, I think we're going to appreciate the fraction sum right now, because here's the power of the fraction sum. Ready? Go. 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? Guess what? 1/5 is 0.2 as a decimal. 2/5 is 0.4. 3/5 is just 0.6. 4/5 is 0.8. And guess what? 5/5 is 1 whole, because you have 5 over 5. So that always makes it 1 whole. Okay, so remember the cheer. 2, 4, 6, 8. Who do we appreciate? And then just put a decimal in front of those numbers, and you have the decimal equivalent of the bottom 5 fractions. Now you're talking about the 4 as the denominator in these fractions. Well, here we're talking about money. We all deal with money every day. And this is what you have to remember. A quarter is just 1/4 of a dollar. Okay? In other words, it takes 4 quarters to make a whole dollar, right? So if you have 1 part out of 4 parts, 1/4 out of the whole dollar out of 4 quarters, you really only have 25 cents. Guess what? That's exactly the number we're looking for. 0.25. Okay, 25 cents. 1/4 is 25 cents. 2/4 is 2 quarters. Oh yeah, that's 50 cents. 3/4, that's 3 quarters. That's 75 cents. Excuse me. And 4/4 is a dollar. If you have all 4 quarters, you'll have a whole dollar. You can write it with 2 zeros. You can write it with 3 zeros. Doesn't matter how many zeros you have behind there. You don't even have to put the zeros there if you don't want to. It'll still be the same value, $1. Okay, so remember, this is talking about money. When the bottom is a 4, that's your quarters. Okay, 25 cents, 50 cents, 75, and a dollar. Now the bottom 3s. When the bottom is a 3, all you gotta do is multiply the 2 numbers, the numerator and the denominator. Multiply the top times the bottom. Okay, so I'm gonna do this right here. 1, and I'm gonna multiply 1 times 3. What's 1 times 3? 3, right? With the bar. So you put your decimal right there, and you end up with the decimal fraction, the decimal equivalent for the fraction of 1/3, which is 0.3 repeating. And we use the bar notation to remind us that that number keeps on going forever. It's not 0.30, it's 0.333333 forever. Same thing for the bottom here. When the bottom is a 3, you multiply the top times the bottom with the bar. So 2 times 3. You don't even have to write this right here that I'm doing. I'm just doing to show you I'm just writing this to show you what I'm doing. Okay, so 2 times 3 gives me 6 with a bar. Maybe don't forget your decimal point. So the equivalent decimal form of 2/3 is 0.6 repeating. And then if you have 3 over 3, you guessed it, same thing as 5 over 5, same thing as 4 over 4. 3 over 3 is 1 whole. Okay? Last line of the fraction song. If the bottom is a 2, it's just 50 cents. Kind of like half a dollar. What's half a dollar? 50 cents. 0.50 if we're talking about money. Now do I have to write the 0? No. I can erase it and I'll still have 0.5. Do I have to have this 0? No. I don't even have to have a dollar sign. You can just be 0.5. You're done. But if you want to think about it like the fraction song says, the fraction song ends with a lyric that says 50 cents, 50 cents, 50 cents, 50 cents, and it fades out. That's because that way you remember that 1/2 is 50 cents. Now if you have 2 halves, well, what's 50 cents plus 50 cents? Because 1/2 is 50 cents, right? So 50 cents plus 50 cents is $1. Same thing as 5 over 5, 4 over 4, 3 over 3, 2 over 2 is 1 whole. And that's how the fraction song works. So hopefully now you have a little better idea on how it works. This will come in very handy when we're trying to convert fractions like that on the spot and we don't want to do a lot of work. If you remember these little tricks that I taught you today in this video, then you can use the fraction song any day in any worksheet or any test, and then you can just tell me that your work, when I ask you to show work, you can just tell me I did this by using the fraction song, and I'll be happy as can be, because I know that you watched this video and you learned a lot. Okay, so thank you for watching. Hopefully now you have a better understanding on how to go from fractions to decimals using the shortcut of the fraction song. Okay, and if you don't want to use a fraction song, you don't have to. All you gotta do is divide. But that means you're gonna have to do 1 division for every 1 fraction that you want to end up with a decimal. So the fraction song is very powerful. It saves you a lot of time. All right, thank you.